Well, first and foremost, appreciate everybody coming out. It's great to be here in Indianapolis. It's been a long time since I was here as a player, and it's been a few years since I was able to be here as a coach. I haven't been, I don't believe, since 2019. So to be, back in Indianapolis, seeing these players go through such a significant part of the process, obviously for them, but us as a new staff and kind of building that connection that we're building. This is a huge part of the process for us to not only see these players, but spend a lot of time around one another, getting to know these guys and building our culture. Even, kind of playing a road game this week, we're still hard at work at doing that. We've been able to establish our coaching staff, confirm a lot of great guys coming to Minnesota that share a common vision of what we want to do as a coaching staff. Teachers, leaders, motivators, all the things that I feel very strongly about were core critical factors of me trying to find the right men to lead our team and help me establish what we want to be as a football team. I feel like we've been able to do that. I think first and foremost, spending the time I have, getting in the building and being around Kwesi the last 2 weeks since really being hired, has confirmed everything I hoped. When I'd learned he had become the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, and I still had an opportunity to become the head coach. He was a huge reason why I wanted to be a part of this, and I knew our shared vision was something that was a big reason why. But actually getting to experience that on a minute-to-minute basis, sharing the halls with him, getting our staffs together and really starting to build that collaboration has been really special early on. I think our new coaches have felt it. I think his staff has obviously felt it. And it's something we'll continue to do as we build the 2022 version of the Minnesota Vikings through obviously the draft, free agency, and all the great aspects of getting to put a football team together. And with that, I'd like to open it up for questions.
What can we take from different areas and better
your coaching staff? You knew Aubrey obviously in LA, and you considered him for your defensive coordinator job. What do you think his future is in this league as a coach?
Oh, I think he's going to be a future head coach in this league. I think the next step in the process for him is coordinating a defense, and Aubrey is so impressive to me. He's always been, I've known him for a few years, even dating back to before we were together in LA. I know Coach McVay has a ton of respect for him. Their relationship is really strong. And they did some great things, both him and Aaron Glenn there in Detroit this year. That was a tough group to play against. They shared, they were able to kind of really infuse a couple different systems of defense in the NFL into that. And they were a tough group to play against, and you felt Aubrey's presence there, and it was good for me to get a chance to speak with him throughout this process. And I have no doubt he's going to continue to ascend sooner rather than later in this league. I really do believe that.
I think your first coaching job was in Cleveland under Mike Pett. And I don't know if you went cold turkey from playing to coaching. I don't think there was a step in between. Maybe I'm wrong, but how do you advertise that you want to be a coach at that point in your life? What were the circumstances?
Well, I think one thing that happens, when you're a quarterback in this league that maybe I might have lacked some of the traits that I now look for physically in a quarterback. I may be tall, I may sometimes look the part, but being accurate was something that I knew very early on I was going to have to really work at because it didn't come naturally to me. So throughout that process, when that does happen, a lot of times you get the nudge from the coaches you do have of, hey, have you thought about coaching? And obviously being around the great coaches that I was around as a player, being around great players I was around as a player, you take a lot from that, but it leads you to believe that you can have an impact helping people be, really helping players be the best possible versions of themselves and giving them a chance to have success. That's what coaching in this league is, whether it's play calling, whether it's coaching a position room, whether it's a quality control position. Your goal is to help the team and do your part to help put the players in great positions. That's what I love about it the most, and now being a head coach gives you a chance to, really establish not only all of those principles with your own coaching staff and team, but that culture that'll help get it done.
Other choices at that point?
I'd like to think I had other choices, but the connection, obviously, with Mike Pettin at the time from my time in New York, some of the other coaches on that staff, Bill Callahan, John DeFilippo, guys that I knew, throughout my time as a player in New York. Bill wasn't on that staff, but he was connected with a lot of those people in Cleveland. It made it an easy transition to at least getting my career off and running. Was around some influential players like a Josh McCown that I remember having a great connection with, and him giving me some great words of encouragement early on that gave me the confidence to feel like I could potentially grow into a good coach in this league, and I'm still working at it to this very day.
What do you view as kind of the identity of the Vikings offense and some of the fundamental kind of core values that you want to have on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I mean, everybody uses the phrase the marriage of the run and the pass, but really what that means in my mind is an identity of doing a lot of things to make it hard on the defense, but in all reality they're simple for us. We use the term the illusion of complexity, and what does that mean? It really means we do as many things, like I said, to make it start out looking the same, but they're different to defend. Personnel groupings, different formations, different motions, different shifts. It's important that we play with great ball security. It's important that we're able to establish the run with physicality, toughness, kind of set the tone for everything that we want to do as an offense. And then I think you got to be great situationally, and that's not just 2-minute end of game. That's third down. That's red zone. That's really, really important because converting in those situations normally leads to opportunities to score points, or if you're down in the red zone, to actually score points. And when you do that, you can make it really hard on an opponent if you're consistently good in those situations. I think just using all the tools that you have to attack a defense, tempo variations, like I said, personnel formations are all one thing, cadence, just all the things that I've learned over the course of being at a lot of great spots around a lot of great coaches and teachers of this game that you can now pull together and form an offense that fits our people, our players, to allow them to take off, ascend, and really hopefully get better every single week. And that goes through the time we get to get together with them this spring, all the way through training camp, and then week in and week out. I think that's one thing that, previously with the winning a Super Bowl in Los Angeles, we were able to really get better every single week. Even when we had a tough time in November, we were able to kind of use that adversity to help propel us through December on into January and be playing our best when it absolutely mattered. And I learned a lot from that, and now getting to be the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, offensively speaking, I see a lot of similar traits to what we did in Los Angeles, but this is our team. This is our opportunity to build something unique, different, but still keep some of the core principles that we feel very, very strongly about.
Player standpoint, what do you think about the offensive line that you're inheriting?
Say that one more time.
From a player standpoint, what do you think of the offensive line that you're inheriting, just the roster right now?
Yeah, I think, not to get too specific, I think that's one of the big, as I really started to study the roster, the offensive line jumped out at me. The skill sets of both our guys on the edge, the tackle position is very strong. I think the guard position, there's a lot of depth there. There's a lot to like. And then in my mind, obviously Garrett Bradbury in the middle is what you look for from a core center from the standpoint of communicating. We do a lot of things. We ask our center to do a lot of things. I know Mason Cole did a great job last year as well. So you look at the tape and you just study the tape. There's a lot to like there. There's a lot to build off of. And a lot of people want to talk about building an offense for the quarterback position or maybe the skill players, but you do it for the offensive linemen as well, and all those guys across the board, the depth we have. It's exciting because you can do a lot of different things with that group, and I know I cannot wait to get started with those guys.
Garrett, he's had a lot of ups and downs. Just what do you see on film from him?
Yeah, I see a guy, really good movement skills. Obviously a guy that was drafted very high for a reason. I can remember evaluating him through the process, did a lot of really good things in college, and it's just been a matter of finding the right fit for him in the right system, and what are you asking him to do, snap in and snap out, that gives him the best possible chance for success. And I'm really excited about not only Garrett, but the rest of our guys up front.
What do you remember about working with Liam Cohen in 2020? What do you feel like he'll bring to the staff back as offensive play?
Yeah, Liam was great, and from the very early on in the process, you could see that he wanted to grow. He had the capability, high capacity guy, really smart. But then you see him connect with the players, and we worked side by side in 2020, and seeing not only his connection with the other quarterbacks, in addition to Jared, but our whole roster and just offense, defense. It's when guys have that type of capacity, a lot of different players search those guys out, and you could see his connection with our team. I knew he would do great things at Kentucky, which he did. Wasn't a surprise to me. I'm excited for him to get back there to LA. It'll be fun to watch him kind of assume a new role there and really help Sean and support him in every way he can.
That role based on that experience what you observed from that one season?
Yeah, I think his experience in the system will be key, and then having that ability to connect and be right there for Sean each and every step of the way. And it's something that I've really looked for here, having been in that role. Getting a guy like Wes Phillips here as our offensive coordinator was huge for me because that role, when you are the head coach, you are the play caller, it's very, very important to have somebody that's an extension of you, that can answer a lot of the questions in your absence, that can be the guy leading from the front with that unit when the head coach can't be around if he gets pulled in different directions. And I know Sean's really excited about having Liam, and I'm really, really excited about having Wes Phillips here as well.
Having Edge on the fellow on board and making transitions from that, how do you think that can improve the ability to evaluate what you have on roster, veterans, and then what you're looking to address with offense?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, really excited to have Ed, the scheme, the person, the teacher. Talked a lot about that throughout the whole process of really getting started. And then through this first 10 to 12 days, whatever it's been, connecting with Ed's been awesome because he's every bit of what I hoped from a standpoint of a teacher, and that schematical advantage we hope to have. But then you meet the person, and then you get in the room with the person, and you really start to connect with an incredible human being. I think our defensive players will love Ed. He's absolutely very much submerged in learning our roster right now, learning what we have, how these positions fit with a slight adjustment to the scheme. I think sometimes what you're calling things from a standpoint of 3-4, 4-3, that can be a little overblown with how much nickel defense you actually have to play in this league nowadays. But I know Ed's excited about a lot of our players we have here returning and the idea of adding some pieces that maybe fit exactly how we want to play.
You ran a ton of empty last year. What's the kind of sliding scale between how much you trust the offensive line and the quarterback and kind of what you can do when you run an empty that often?
Yeah, I think you constantly kind of fight that battle of getting 5 eligibles out and making the defense defend every blade of grass versus maybe protecting the edges and helping the offensive line out front. I think you have tools you can use. I mentioned some of the cadence, some of the tempos you can use to kind of gain an advantage from that standpoint, try to mitigate the rush when you can. But it's a matter of, if you're going to be an empty, you got to have a clear-cut plan. You got to play with great rhythm and timing, and the ball's got to come out. You can't be holding it all day and thinking you can get through all 4 or 5 eligibles, but what you can do is put maximum stress on the defense and try to get your first or second option open so that the ball comes out. You're always, fighting that balance of picking your spots to how you want to infuse that into your offense, and sometimes it makes more sense than other. I think you attack every week with the idea offensively, defensively, special teams. How are we going to win this game? How are we best suited to play this game versus the opponent this week? And formationally on offense, whether you're in condensed sets or you're in empty sets, all that gets applied when we get in there to game plan for an opponent. And, I feel good about the guys I'm going to get a chance to do that with, both on the staff, but also the players we get to put out on the field.
Time for 2 more. Bouncing off of that, Kevin, obviously in Los Angeles, you guys kind of were able to use guys like Robert Woods to kind of make up some different, looks in terms of running outside zone and things like that. Have Minnesota using a guy like C.J. Ham with the last regime. How do you plan on kind of balancing that with the wide receiver crew and the bigs that you guys have and trying to make the most out of what you guys want to do in the running game?
Yeah, I think, when you turn on our tape from last year, the first thing you probably see, and I know coaches around the league see, is the receiver's impact in the run game. And it's one thing to say that, but then to actually have to do that with some of the physical players defensively we have in this league. Our guys did a great job with that and really a huge part of our success there. We were predominantly an 11 personnel team with 3 wide receivers on the field with a back and a tight end. I hope to be more multiple. Just based on the fact that we have the personnel to do that, from the tight ends to CJ, like you mentioned. The different variations to how you can attack people in the run game just forces them to have to defend a lot more offense that we can then marry with play pass, keepers, drop back pass, screens to try to generate explosives. And that's really what we'll do. There'll be some things that will look new. There will be some things that will carry over based upon comfort levels for the players, because that's important too. And the idea is just to build the best possible version of our offense, not only to help our players and the guys we're going to be out there, but help our entire football team to play complementary football in all 3 phases. It all works together. I'm really excited about putting that together.
Kwesi called you a systems thinker. What does that mean to you, and how do you improve your process without over-focusing on results?
Yeah, I think a systems thinker to me is what you just said. It's a process thinker, and you put value in that process, the consistency in that process to treat each and every week as its own entity when you're playing games and opponents. How you evaluate in the draft. You can't, you might have your core principles and characteristics and factors you look for a position, but you cannot, just put everybody into a box and say this is what we're looking for, because you're going to miss on. You're going to miss on some players that ultimately maybe don't fit a core characteristic, but you can find a way to use that player in a way that their potential is maximized and it fits in with the other 10 guys. It's about all 11 out there, and the process of a coach and that kind of system thinking mindset. I really look at it as how are you putting the 11 guys in the huddle in whatever phase you're playing, offense, defense, or special teams. How are you putting those guys in the best possible situation to have success, snap in and snap out, and then what are you building upon that to kind of continue to gain that advantage as games go on, seasons go on, and you just build that sustained success from there. Thank you, guys.